Prepare yourselves, Internet, for this week's Nerd Word. As we all know, this week is Sci-Fi Week, introduced by Flash Gordon and Ming the Merciless themselves. As a childhood fan of the Defenders of the Earth, I gotta say, that was pretty badass. The Sci-Fi Nerd War pitted our nerds against each other in a blind laser-dodging spectacle in order to save George Takei. By the way, nice to see you again, George. Looking spiffy as ever. I totally understand Kayla's excitement at seeing Sulu, but come on, putting Janeway over Picard? That's insanity! Habsosle coach! For this nerd war, I really thought that the Titans of Rigel had it in the bag. Turns out that they could not stop Zack and Jack. Jack's knowledge of the Fibonacci sequence really paid off for him in this nerd war. For those of you who are curious, the Fibonacci sequence is any number sequence where the nth value, f sub n, is equal to f sub n minus 1 plus f sub n minus 2, beginning with any two arbitrary seed values, f sub 0 and f sub 1, canonically 0 and 1 respectively. This week's elimination challenge was all about answering trivia questions and shooting spaceships. Back and forth was the score in this nerd off. It was so close. But at the very end, Brian ended up knocking Chris out of the game. Come on, man. How could you not know about melange? He who controls the spice controls the universe. Oh, behold the tale of Chris the engineer, an all-around nerdy guy who'd like to buy a beer. Played the other team like a piano when he Liberace, foiled in the lasers by a sequence quite Fibonacci. In the end, he's pitted against Brian, a hipster Harry. His trivia skills were keen and his shooting prowess scary. Despite his best efforts, Chris, you will not be crowned. You are now banished and a true king must be found. Goodbye, Chris. This week's question is brought to you by Twitter user ZXK77, who asks, who's playing the best game by your analysis? Well, Mr. 77, that's a good question. I'd have to say that Brian is probably playing the best game so far. He's got such a high aptitude for these competitions, while at the same time, he keeps sneaking under the radar, with the exception of the most recent Nerd Off. Now that there's no more teams, I'd actually like to see how he'll fare against one-on-one combat in the future. Keep those questions coming to my Twitter account, Fatal Error with a 3, and I'll answer the best question in next week's Nerd Word. Stay classy, Internet.